Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Cap and Cork Beer, Wine, and Spirits, with 15 locations in Fort Wayne and New Haven. In good spirits, in good company. In Flavor of the Week, Kyle sits down with one of our local priests over 4 different episodes to sample variations of a favorite food or drink while they discuss the ins and outs of life as a priest.
This is Kyle Hyman. I am here at St. Michael's in Plymouth with Fr Craig Borchard, trying some different beers. We did a banana bread. We did a double IPA. And what do you have for us next?
This is the Cosmic IPA. This looks like a single IPA from Boulevard Brewing out of Kansas City. From Boulevard Space Camper. It's got a little like astronaut looking person on the front here. So let's give this a try.
All right. Cheers.
Okay, cheers. That's good too. Yep, that's definitely a single IPA.
I feel like we're getting lighter.
We are. We're going to finish dark and strong, you know. If the beer looks like motor oil, it's going to be tasty. I like the beers that are like just pure, just black liquid. Yeah. They're so delicious. But IPAs are good too.
All right. Well, Fr Craig, didn't get to my third question last time. And that is, when you were describing your story of discernment, you started off in the Archdiocese of Detroit, and then you came to Notre Dame, and then somehow you end up a priest for the Fort Wayne South Bend Diocese, which I can imagine you had at least 3 options. You could have gone back to your hometown and been part of the Archdiocese of Detroit. You could have been a Holy Cross priest. Fort Wayne South Bend Diocese seems like maybe a third option, but then of course there's all kinds of religious orders and that you could have been open to.
Yeah, actually Philadelphia would have been the third option for me.
Oh, sure.
So again, I was living out. Yep, I was living out in Philadelphia at the Theology of the Body Institute when I first really deeply considered going to seminary. So I was out in Philly, so I met with the vocations director there.
Was that the first time that you had met with a vocations director?
Yes, it was. Okay. So they wanted me to wait a year. And then I also talked to the vocations director at the Archdiocese of Detroit. And that was a good conversation as well. They were also kind of looking for me to wait a year. I should say beforehand, I didn't realize that you had to apply to a diocese. I thought you just became a priest and you were like an unrestricted free agent, and then somebody would sign you, kind of like, you know, the athletes. That's literally what I thought. I was like, oh, you just become a priest and then you just like end up somewhere.
Right.
I had no idea. I had no idea at the time. You have to apply to a diocese, and the diocese like accepts you and sends you to seminary. And then also I was meeting with Monsignor Gaelic and was thinking about Fort Wayne South Bend as well. So I was really between Philadelphia, Detroit, and Fort Wayne South Bend. The Lord never called me to religious life. The Philadelphia vocations director told me, you know, religious life is a calling within a calling. I just never personally felt called to religious life, you know? So that was never really on the radar for me, actually, at the time. To make a really long story short, Philadelphia was a little too far from home. Detroit was a little too close to home, and Fort Wayne South Bend was just right. That's part of it. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. So I started praying about it, discerning it, and to be honest, all the doors kind of opened for Fort Wayne South Bend, and they kind of all closed a little bit for Philadelphia and Detroit. Okay. And all of the signs, so to speak, were pointing towards Fort Wayne South Bend. So I had, you know, a lot of my friends obviously were in Fort Wayne South Bend. And then several of my friends in Philly actually were moving to Fort Wayne South Bend. Then I went to the March for Life that year and ran into like every Fort Wayne South Bend group. I ran into like the group from Notre Dame. I ran into the diocese. I was just running into all these people from Fort Wayne South Bend. So just again, all these just little, the Lord was just placing all these just little signs in front of me. Everything was pointing to Fort Wayne South Bend. And then my parents live in Detroit still, but my brother and sister-in-law live in Chicago. So Fort Wayne South Bend was right in between. Right. So that was a plus. Again, there was just, everything was kind of pointing towards Fort Wayne South Bend. And then Bishop Rhodes got reassigned from Harrisburg to Fort Wayne South Bend. And then it was soon announced that, you know, he was going to start sending the men to Mount St. Mary's in Emmitsburg, which I had heard was a really great seminary. And I had a desire to go to Mount St. Mary's because I just heard so many good things about it. So then Bishop Rhodes gets moved. He starts sending guys to Mount St. Mary's Seminary. Again, just more little indicators, little signs pointing towards that way. And then, you know, it was actually a pretty simple discernment in terms of which diocese to go to. The Lord just made it really clear. This is where I was supposed to be. And I went to the Lake Week with the seminarians, didn't know anybody, met everybody for the first time. So I have no doubts or reservations that this was the diocese I was supposed to go to.
So you meet with Monsignor Gaelic, and then what was your process for becoming an official seminarian?
I mean, it was the normal process, basically. I did the application. I had to fly back for the psych eval, actually. I could do part of it in Philly, but I had to fly back for the in-person interview, to the psych evaluation. It was fine. It's thorough, you know. I'm glad that it is,
Right.
So, yeah, that was fun. And then, well, maybe not fun isn't the right word, but it was a thing that I did. And then everything got sent to Bishop Rhodes' office. And then I flew back for a meeting with Bishop Rhodes, and he formally accepted me as a seminarian. I think it was July 15th was the date, if I'm not mistaken. And then, that August, just a few weeks later, I was at Lake Week. I had a lot of flights and trips back and forth. And then all I had to do was move from Philly to Mount St. Mary's, which is actually only not even 3 hours. I think it's about 3 hours. And the guys from Indiana had to move 10 hours out to the Mount. So that was actually an easy move.
So while you're in seminary, you recorded a CD.
Yes.
Was that something that you've been wanting to do for a long time, or were you just sitting there and saying, you know what, I've got some songs in my head that I should put down on a compact disc?
So I've been recording music since high school, actually. I was in bands all throughout high school and college, did a lot of recording, always just enjoyed it. Basically, throughout my time in seminary, I was writing all this music based on experiences that I was having in my prayer. It was nearing the end of my time in seminary, and I thought, I probably would be a lot harder to record anything once I become a priest. And it was pretty hard in seminary because you're plenty busy in seminary. You have a lot of responsibilities, but I thought I can do this. Plus, there's a lot of men at the seminary that are musicians, and I could tap them for help in composing and in recording. So yes, I have this CD here. It's actually under the old, a name that I've been carrying all since college. However, was the name of my group, my band in college, actually.
I like it.
It's a little weird. Basically, it comes from this person she was a really hilarious person. And she would always say comma. She would say the word comma whenever she used however. Boy, I just thought that was hilarious. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of silly. And so I didn't want to put my face on it. So I thought, because it's really about the Lord. It's not about me. So, and all these images are from different places I've been recently. So the CD covers the Sea of Galilee, actually, when I was a deacon in the Holy Land. The back cover is actually the floor of a monastery. Okay. Super zoomed up close. And then you open it up.
It's just like a texture.
Yep. And then you open it up, and it's the seminary, actually. It's at the mount. You go up the mountain, and the grotto kind of overlooks the whole campus. Okay. You can see the seminary. So one of my favorite places to pray, I'd go up there. So I took this picture. It's a panorama, and I put the lyrics kind of in the blank spaces there. And then the booklet has pictures from Plymouth, actually. That's a doc of parishioners of mine. I like to go to their house. It was a perfectly foggy day, so it was great for a moody picture. And then the next two images are from Volcán de Pacaya, which is in Guatemala, where I studied Spanish. And then the final image is actually IPF. It's a little vista out of a window of one of the dorms at Creighton. So that's where all the images come from. And all the music was written in all those places. So I wrote one of the songs at IPF, one of the songs at the seminary, one of the songs was written in Guatemala. The project is called Ready. And it's 4 songs. There are instrumental interludes that connect the songs to each other. So it's one continuous piece of music, roughly 23, 22 minutes long. The 4 songs correspond to a method of prayer called ARRR. Acknowledge, and then relate, receive, respond. Acknowledge, relate, receive, respond. And it's a method of prayer, and it's similar to the method of Lectio Divina. Basically, acknowledge. You're in prayer, and you're really, let's say, for example, you're really stressed out about something. Okay, now you've acknowledged something that's going on, and the Lord is interested in that. He's interested in what's going on. Or maybe you're upset about something, or you're sad, or maybe you're happy about something. So you acknowledge where you're at. Then you relate that to the Lord. Okay, Lord, I'm stressed out because this thing happened at work today and I was really upset, right? So now you're relating to the Lord what you acknowledged. Okay, so that's relate. Then receive. Okay, so then you wait, and the Lord will give you something. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's an image, maybe it's a Bible verse. He says something to you. You think about a memory. Maybe he gives you a memory. So you receive something from the Lord. And then you respond. Okay, Lord, why did I just think about that time that, my dad took me to go get a milkshake or whatever. Like, that seems random, but it's actually connected because it was a time that I felt really at peace and secure because I was with dad or whatever. And that's what the Lord wishes me to know now, that I'm at peace and I'm secure in his love. And it's I'm using that as a hypothetical example. So you see how then you respond to God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for that image. And now I see what you're trying to teach me in this moment, that I need to rest in you, right? For example, each song corresponds to those 4 steps down the line. And the first song is called Oxygen. And it's basically me acknowledging lies that I believed about myself. And the primary lie that I believed about myself is that I'm just not good enough. So I'm acknowledging the lie that I believed about myself. Okay, that's the first thing. So then the next song, Ready, I'm relating to the Lord about this lie, and I'm telling the Lord, I don't want to believe this lie anymore. I know that in you, I am enough. You've made me good. You've made me ready for you. So I'm telling the Lord, I'm ready to die to these lies. I'm ready to die to these lies. That's the relating to the Lord. That's what that next song is. Then a song called Always There. It's actually about that experience at Kairos when I saw the Lord looking at me in the Eucharist on that retreat. And so I talk about that's this receiving of this gift of the Lord just looking at me and just loving me and opening up my eyes to see that, yeah, I am good enough. Am I perfect? Of course not. I have my flaws, but he has gifted me with what I need to do what I need to do. So I talk about that moment. That's what I receive from the Lord, is this gaze from Jesus, and he opens up my eyes. And then finally, I respond by thanking the Blessed Virgin Mary in a song for Mary. It's actually connected to an experience I had at the Institute of a beautiful moment of powerful intercessory prayer from the Blessed Virgin that actually helped me to realize how much God the Father loved me and how much Jesus was there for me. So my song of thanksgiving actually is kind of a song of thanksgiving to the Blessed Virgin for interceding for me, because she interceded for me to help me realize that those lies were not true about myself. So that song for Mary is the final song. It's that responding, giving thanks to God. So that's the project. It took 6 years to complete because at the seminary, you kind of have work to do, papers, stuff's going on. So anytime I had a minute here, a minute there, I'd kind of, get some more work done in it. I'm a horrible perfectionist. Part of the reason it took 6 years. Yeah. I'm just a horrible perfectionist. This is the album I'm most proud of. I've done some other albums very, very different from this. This is more acoustic, a little more chill than stuff I've done in the past.
You said we could play this on the radio.
Absolutely.
We'll try to figure out how to make that happen.
Okay.
Is it available online? Can people get a physical copy or stream it anywhere?
So I am super dinosaur old-fashioned with music. I've also kind of purposefully been a little more private with it just because it is some of my prayer experiences. So I didn't put it online. I just, again, old fashioned, but I do have CDs. Honestly, if somebody wants one, they could just email me at my email address. And if they send me a check for, I don't know what it is, I think it's $15, $10 for the CD and then shipping. So, or they can PayPal me the money too, and then I can send them a CD if they're interested.
Okay.
Again, I know it's a little old fashioned nowadays. Everybody's streaming, but I'm a firm believer though in physical media with music. Now I do have the digital versions on my computer. I intended to do like a website where people could download it if they wanted to. I have this day job though. So I should do that at some point. And if I do, we can give you guys the link. But for now, if people want it, they can email me. Yeah. cborchard@stmichaelplymouth.org.
Well, we are out of time again. So we're going to have to pick up where we left off next week. But for now, how do you feel about, I don't know if we got a rating on the double IPA.
I think I like the double just a tad more than the cosmic that we're having right now. I'd give the bunny probably a solid 7.
7. Okay.
And I'd give this probably like a 6.5.
Camper.
Yeah. It's good. I'd say just under the bunny one. These are good. They're all good though, for sure. I'm just being a pain. So.
All right. Well, come back next week to find out more from Fr Craig Borchard and Flavor of the Week.
Now I've decided it's time to die to these lies. I'm casting away these fears that hold me back. These are the lies that hold me back from you. And I'm tired of being tired, yes, oh Lord. And so I wait for you to pull me into your healing heart, where I'll drink deep of your love, of your love. I'm ready